Okay, thank you for that pause. We were back live streaming. Let me make sure we do that. Moving on to the next agenda item. Public hearing to consider a variance to regulations found in Bartonville zoning ordinance section 19.3.j relating to maximum distance of an accessory dwelling or a primary building. The applicant has requested that this item be postponed to a date to be determined. When the application is resubmitted, new notices will be published and mailed to the property owners within 200 feet of the affected property. So we'll be moving on to the next item. Public hearing to consider a variance to the following regulations. Bartonville zoning ordinance, appendix F, technical design standards, section F.1, relating to parking technical design standards for non-residential districts. BZO section 12.3.c, relating to the compatibility buffer requirements, and BZO section 18.j.2, relating to perimeter landscaping requirements. The property subject to the variance request is located on land situated in the Getty Addition, Block A, Lot 1R in the town of Bartonville, Denton County, Texas. The site address is 1001 IT Neely Road. The applicant is Bryfam Properties, LLC. Town file number VAR-2024-002. Sure.
Okay. Now we will hear Johnny swearing in.
Swear me, right, yes.
Okay, all right, we will swear in County Administrator Chambers and Planner Wells to stand, and please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. The applicant presentation. Chair.
So your staff presentation will be first, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah.
And again, I'm going to defer to, our third party planners, Brian Wells, to go through the staff presentation on your questions as well.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening, board members. My name is Ryan Wells. I'm at Karen Consulting, the third-party consulting planner at the town of Bartonville. I'll be giving a very brief staff presentation on this first item, since I know that the applicant has a more thorough presentation they'll want to share with you. So this first variance request comprises 4 items from a previous approval of a site plan for a project called the Resort at Marty B's. This is located on the south side of I-10 Neely Road, just across from the Marty B's property that you all know and love. It's a 14.722 acre property that is being proposed for a event center and a chapel. These will be for organized events, weddings, things of that nature. But there were some items that are in the Bartonville zoning ordinance as far as design standards, design requirements that the applicant felt that they could provide a better quality project, or there were extenuating circumstances on the site that necessitated a variance from those particular items. So the 4 items that they brought for you for tonight for this variance request are related to a reduction in the requirement for the number of concrete or asphalt paved parking spaces on the site. The appendix F of the Bartonville zoning ordinance requires that a minimum of 99 spaces would have to be paved, and the balance of all the parking could be flex base or gravel or some other more porous material. The second is that the Bartonville zoning ordinance currently requires a 25-foot setback for any residential uses. That would be the Hudson Hills development just to the northwest. They're requesting that setback to be 15 feet. The third item is that the Bartonville zoning ordinance requires a 6-foot solid masonry screening wall would be erected between this non-residential use and the Hudson Hills residential properties. The applicant is requesting that instead of that 100% masonry opaque wall, that a 6-foot high stone column and ornamental fence wall be constructed instead to be consistent with the wall that they erected behind the Marty B's project. And then they also are requesting a reduction in the perimeter landscaping to be offset by street trees to be planted along I-20 Road. As is found in, there's option for that in the Bartonville zoning ordinance as well. I'm gonna end my presentation there and let the applicant provide the additional detail and justifications, but of course I'm available to answer any questions during this hearing. Thank you.
Would the applicant like to present? Would you raise your right hand? And, do you swear and affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
That's it.
And what is your name and address?
My name is Carolyn King. The address is 201 Country View Drive, Roanoke, Texas, 76262.
Thank you.
All right, I'm just gonna follow up, from Ryan's presentation. Thank you for presenting that, Ryan. So a little bit of detail on the site. Shannon, the clicker's not working. Oh, sorry. Right. Okay, there we go. So we talked a little bit about the location. Here you can see the property as a whole highlighted in blue. It's just south of Marty B's on the south side of I-10 and west of 7-Eleven. This image right here kind of shows the property as a whole, the entire, it's a little over 14 acres, and you can see that the dark shade is the floodplain, and then the red arrow that runs through there is completely encompassed by easement. So it really only leaves us with that top blue portion of the area to develop for this project. This is the plat. And then here is the site plan. This is mainly going to be the detail I'll be talking on the variances that we are requesting. So right here is the first variance. We are providing 223 parking spaces total. 77 of them are concrete. The requirement for concrete is 99, as Ryan said. And 146 of them are proposed flex space, the same material that are in the 2 existing parking lots, north of Bartonville and east of Bartonville. So you can see between the hatching difference, everything that I have highlighted in yellow are the areas of proposed concrete parking spaces, and then everything that is not highlighted in yellow, that's not the dark fire lane hatch, is the proposed flex space. And then you can also see that the red is the encore easement, so any parking that is within the red is required to be flex space or gravel per Encore's requirements. They will not allow you to put any type of pavement or structures in there. So that automatically will have to be gravel. And then the blue is a UTR or flex space, I'm sorry. The blue is a UTRWD easement, same stipulations. They do not allow any type of, they have very strict stipulations. They don't allow any type of paving within there. So what we did is we worked with the EOC one, and we looked through the fire lane and where we felt it was appropriate to make that transition between concrete and flex space. And that left us with 77 total concrete spaces. So we're asking for the waiver in lieu of 99. Secondary is the landscape buffer requirement. So we are asking for a 15-foot landscape buffer in lieu of 25 feet. For a very small portion, I'm going to point from here to here is the 15 foot. Everywhere else we can meet the 25. The way that the site's laid out, that is the area that we can only meet 15 right there. And I wanted to point out, this is the lot over here on this side. There between us would be a 15-foot landscape buffer. There's another 30-foot buffer, and there's an additional 40-foot water line easement before you even encroach the building line for that lot. So there's quite a bit of space. I believe the last time I measured it, it was like a little over 300 feet to where a structure would be, maybe a little bit more depending on where they built that on the lot. They have everywhere within the building area. So I just wanted to make note of the space that is between there and then the linear footage of where we are asking for 15 and another 25. This one is the screening wall, and the requirements are a 6-foot break or masonry wall required. We're asking for a variance for a 6-foot stone column and ornamental metal fence.
And that's just to keep it consistent with the look and feel of Bartonville, and that's the same fence setup that is on Marty B's, his north parking lot and the coffee shop. So that's the request on the screening wall. And then lastly, we're requesting, a couple of different landscape variances for the buffer along IT Neely. This is due to an existing water line that is currently within that right of way, within that area, that the buffer is required. There's an existing sanitary sewer line as well. There's also an overhead power line. So, we are required to plant 28 trees. That's a combination of overstory and understory. We are planting 12 currently. And that's just because we can't plant anything along here. And so we have a very small space of overstory that we can plant. If we had to do meet all the requirements, that it's too dense of a space to have healthy growth for those required trees. And I believe that is seven overstory trees and 21 understory trees. So we're providing 11 understory and 1 overstory that we were able to tuck right here, that's understory, and it doesn't impact the power lines or the existing utilities that are within there. And that is the conclusion of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have a question on the landscaping. Is that just all like would be facing actually Marty B's? Is it any of it gonna be facing the residential area that would be, is there gonna be a residential area eventually that could possibly go in by Marty B's, or is it a residential?
So the landscape requirements for IT Neely, those face Marty B's. Those are the ones we're asking for variance on, but the landscape requirements that face the residential, we need those. We're providing the adequate amount of trees that need to be in that, even though we're asking for a 15-foot buffer and limit of 25.
The same thing for that fence. Does that fence affect the residential side at all, or is that all on the front side and the side, Marty B's side?
The screening fence, we're asking for the ornamental metal to match what is currently out there on Marty B's. That would be the fence that's between residential and the event center, along with the 15-foot buffer and the 30-foot buffer and the 40-foot easement. That would get us to the building line. So that fence is located between Marty's and the
Residential. So my concern is will they be able to see all that stuff that's going on over there? And, as far as any kind of a screen buffer for the landscape, are they gonna have anything that's gonna buffer the sound along with the vision?
Yes, so we're doing a combination of some berms that are being installed, but we're also heavy on the landscape and meeting the requirements for that buffer. The intent is to buffer it with heavy buffer in that area to screen what's going on at the event center. In addition to that house being over a football field, if not more away. I think worst case scenario is like 300 feet would be your worst case scenario. The closest that house could be to the event center. And they would be building in the very back of the hall.
And then those houses aren't there at this point in time?
No, ma'am, that lot is currently vacant, I believe, unsold.
So when you talk about the 40-foot buffer, it's from the property line to where they can build, is that correct?
Let me jump back to this.
Can you go to that one, because we can't see that, there's like a big glare,
Oh,
can you show it on that, please?
I don't have a plan, but I can use colors. Okay, so the green is the 15-foot buffer that I'm describing. The yellow is a 30-foot buffer that is already existing. The blue is a 40-foot water line easement back there. So that's 85 feet before you even get to the building line on that lot 5. And that's only shows the corner of that building line on lot 5, but if you look at the whole thing, it's huge. So the house, ideally would be much farther away than that rear building line the other side.
And what is the yellow buffer consist of?
That's the 30-foot existing buffer. That's plotted on site for Hudson Ranch.
And where is their property?
Their property line is in between the yellow and green.
Okay, so their backyard is still within those buffers.
Yes, their backyard is, but their building line is not, and you can't put anything in the buffer or their buffer line easement.
Yeah, I understand.
I drove by the site, and I don't see how you're gonna put all that on top of the hill. You must be gonna move a lot of dirt to make that thing work. Not an ideal site to begin with.
And do you plan on moving the dirt? What's then, okay.
Yes, ma'am, yeah, we've, taken the dirt in consideration with the design, and you can't see them on here, but, there are lots of landscape berms within this, especially around the event center, to try and kind of berm up around there and plant on top of it and provide that, secluded, nice space for an event to take place.
But not without a permit, right? Not without a permit, I'm talking about the dirt. You're not gonna move all that without a permit.
Oh, no way.
Any additional questions?
So with the flex space, back to the parking spaces, will we get the rains that we've had recently and knowing that some of this land is already in floodplain? Are you concerned with the way the drainage is gonna erode those lots?
And they're not in that area, that we left because of the restrictions of the Encore and the UTRWD easement, you cannot cut or fill more than a foot. A large portion of that has to stay existing, and so the way that we have it grading is the flow that it does exist, what it does existing right now, with a little bit of help from enhanced grading, it still flows south to the floodplain. So everything that is shown in that flex space material, that's all sheet flowing south into the floodplain and then eventually goes underneath for us.
Is this facility intended to be indoor or do they plan on having outdoor activities too?
I'm sorry, did you say it's gonna be indoor?
Yeah, I'm wondering if all the activities are gonna be indoor or.
There is the event center is indoor and the chapel is indoor. There is a outdoor event lawn that you see on the south side of the event center. Kind of see that oval space in the back. And I kind of wish I had the grading thing, because you can see that it's heavily burned up around the edge. Just because there's power lines right there, there's a residential subdivision right there, we want that to be intimate out there in that area.
That on the south side? East. East?
That's just the outdoor event area is out. If somebody decided to host a wedding outside.
How big is that area?
I'm sorry,
How big is that area, roughly?
Marty, how many people do you plan on?
Indoor seats 296. So we've learned in doing all the research that, here's what come up there, that, the average size of a wedding is around 150 to 200. There will be some that'll be larger.
Well, my concern is just the noise.
Sure.
We have enough buffers so that the, residents that don't have to listen to it. Because they're awfully close.
I just, number one, I wanted to say thank y'all, for considering this.
Excuse me, Martin.
Oh, yeah, I'm swearing in.
Sure, yes, Phil, just swear in, please.
All right, state your name and your address.
Marty Ryan, 913 Hatfield Court, Bartonville.
Okay. Do you swear that, or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say a couple things, regarding sound. We do have a sound ordinance. I'd like to think I inspired that. So that all of the sound ordinance that exists today will be applicable to this space. So I'll have to live within that. Regarding the landscaping on that, personally, it's more important to me to be shielded from the neighborhood. In fact, I'm probably more concerned about it than you all would be, because if I'm gonna sell this space, it's gonna be important that whoever's renting this space from us feels like it's an intimate setting and they can't see power lines and houses. Ultimately, when you're spending resources to have a wedding, you want it to feel special. And so the landscape area, we've gone to great measures, probably measures beyond what I even wanted, to make this space look incredibly appealing to the eye, and more importantly, to be able to shield the neighborhood and the power lines.
Well, I'm not so much concerned with the intimacy of the wedding space, I'm more concerned with the party going on after. Cause that's where it gets loud. You know,
Yes.
you have the music, and then you just have all the noise afterwards. So that's what I'm more concerned with than, you know, the actual wedding event itself.
Well, I don't know that it's gonna be greater than what already exists at Marty B's. Again, this seats 296, Marty B seats 1,200. So again, there is a sound ordinance that exists, and I think will help solve a lot of that.
Can I ask you on the, right where it has like the red and you go south, is that the proposed flex parking?
Okay, the flex parking is, I know you can't see this over here, so I'm gonna walk over here.
And I apologize, our pointer does not work on TV.
It's okay.
So, from this point right here, all the way down, this is all flex because it's on according to RWD's easement.
Yeah.
So right here and then to this point right here, this gray area is fire lane, it's concrete, but from everything from here over and here is flex.
Okay, so my question is, so if that's someone's property line, like that's their home, whether it's where their house is gonna be or not, it's still their property line. And people are parking in that flex space, are those lights going onto that property with that fencing?
No, we have prepared a photometric plan, it's at the end of this, so I can show it to you as well, but it shows 0 illuminations at the property line. The lighting from those, they have very, very specific requirements. So the lighting from those and the domes that are put on them, it does not show illumination, you're at a 0 at the property line per the code and the requirements of Bartonville.
Was your question related to people parking there though, like headlights? It's night.
Sorry.
Yes,
So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm in my yard, right, that's my property line, I'm in my yard. Am I gonna have headlights going into my yard because of that specific, you're specifically asking for that, stone masonry to be more decorative to match Marty B's, I get that. But it now has openings, so is the lights gonna go into my backyard?
No, this is heavily screened with bushes to provide that barrier from the lights of the headlights as well as understory tree requirements within the screen. Because we're not asking for any waivers on landscaping right here, and there will be screening to screen those lights. You know, like when you pull up to a parking spot with those hedges.
But you guys have to put those in and then they have to stay there, so if lights die, like those requirements have to stay there?
That's part of the site plan. We're actually
Okay.
going through that right now. We've had a business with some landscaping inside that's now an issue that will be enforced because of site plan.
Okay, so that is ongoing, the city will make sure that that
Yes.
stays there, it's not gonna die to be done.
Right.
Okay, awesome, thank you for question.
Of course, thank you.
So where it's going with it.
I wanted to just say, a couple more things. This property sat there for 4 years. Actually, it's been sitting there for probably 15 or 20 years. And it had a for sale sign on it, and nobody wanted it. It was an abandoned piece of land. People used to dump trash on it. Trash still sits on the property that had accumulated over all this time. It's probably the worst piece of land in the town of Bartonville. Obviously, you've got all these challenges that go through it. I'm still amazed that I bought it, but I see the beauty of the land and I see the potential that it can provide. I see the value that it's gonna add to the town of Bartonville. We're gonna build a beautiful facility there. It's gonna be a great place for people to come together, celebrate all their life special moments. And, I'm real proud of what the engineers have done and our architect has done to create the space that you see today. Collectively, from when I started in 2018, and we've been working on this for 6 years. So it's been quite the process, and so then, as a result of this process, I've made a ton of concessions to be able to get it to where it is. And I'm real happy with what I think we've come together with. It's gonna be a great addition to the community. It's gonna be beautified, all like Dale was asking, all of that grade will come away. So it'll still have some elevation, but not near to the degree there, all that'll have to get graded. So, are there any other questions? I certainly want everyone to
I
feel
think I
comfortable.
have a few more, questions or comments. So how long do you anticipate it taking you from the permitting process until you finish versus houses going in there? Because, you could get permitted and then somebody could buy a house and then it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't know I was going in there.
Very good question. The builders have told me it's about a year build. I mean, certainly, it's a big structure, but it's kind of just a big open space, both the chapel and the facility. We're not putting a commercial kitchen in either of the spaces, so that certainly is, helps with timeline and all that stuff, but we think that's.
So the minute you get your permit, you're probably gonna start the process pretty quickly, so even if somebody did buy property, then they'd probably question what was going on over there.
I mean, I would probably plan to start this summer sometime, July, be my goal, June, July.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Are there any speakers that are signed up to speak about this?
We need to open the public hearing
Oh,
first,
okay.
and then we can
Okay,
publish.
thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing at 6:57 PM. Does anyone have anything that they would like to speak about relating to this?
I have not received any sign-up cards for this item.
Have you received any comments from your, or mailings that you sent out?
I have received nothing on this,
Are there even any residential around it? I mean, at this point?
No.
No, that's what I was thinking, so you didn't send it to any residents? Okay.
It went out to a couple, the list is in the packet that it went out to, no, we have not received anything.
I thought it was nice that you included a few Lantana residents instead of ones that like to.
Yeah.
Stir the pot. Yeah.
You're able to close the public hearing.
Okay. All right, I'd like to close the public hearing at 6:58 PM. Pardon?
In that discussion,
Yes, oh, yeah, thanks. Is there any discussion?
I think that Randy and his contractor are very aware of our sound and light requirements. And I think he planned a very nice facility, and the things he's asked for actually are a benefit to it. He's right, that piece of land, bad. I don't see how you can make it this way a second time through.
Thank you, Dale.
Can I make a motion? No discussion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to remind you, there are 4 variants, specific variance items here, so it's my recommendation that each variance item receive its own vote.
And I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing everybody, so if you could please make sure you're speaking into your microphone, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so we're going to do the variances. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, variance 1.
Which is the reduction of the required parking spaces.
So Madam Chair, I move to approve the request variance to allow reduction in the required parking space to 77 for remaining parking space to be constructed in flat space, where 99 parking spaces are required to be constructed of concrete or asphalt by towns and ordinance appendix F, section F.1, the technical design standards, because the variance meets the following requirements under the factors in the zoning ordinance section of A.3.D of appendix A, and I will select the criteria of B and A.
I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye.
Variance request number 2 is reduction of the required landscape buffer.
Madam Chair, I approve the requested variance to allow reduction of the required landscape buffer adjacent to Hudson Hills. Residential use to 15 feet where 25 feet is required by town zoning ordinance section 12.3.c.11. Because the variance meets the following requirements under the factors from zoning ordinance section A.3.d of appendix A. Using criteria A,
I'll second. Call for the vote.
okay, yes.
Yes.
All right, everyone in favor?
Motion carries with a 5-0 vote. Variance 3, construction of a screening wall. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the requested variance to allow construction of screening wall 6 foot high stone column and ornamental fence configuration where a solid masonry wall of at least 6 feet in height is required by town zoning ordinance sections 12.3.c.11 and 18.6.j.2. Because the variance meets the following requirements under the factors in zoning ordinance section A.3.d of appendix A.
Second.
We're waiting on criteria.
That criteria is A and F. Everyone in favor?
Need a second.
I'm sorry, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-1. The next request is a reduction of perimeter landscaping. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the requested variance to allow the reduction of perimeter landscaping by 16 trees offset by the street trees to be planted in the adjacent right of way where a larger number of trees is required by town zoning ordinance section 18.6.j.2.b.1 and 2, because the variance meets the following requirements under the factors in zoning ordinance section A.3.d of appendix A. Items of criteria is A.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
All in favor? Thank you.
Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item number 4. Public hearing to consider a variance to the following regulations. Bartonville zoning ordinance section 4.7 relating to a single-family dwelling setback requirements. The property subject to the variance request is located on land situated in the Eagle Ridge Addition, Block A, Lot 21, in the town of Bartonville, Denton County, Texas. The site address is 1209 Kidner Court. The applicant is Bartonville South 1031 LLC. Town file number VAR-2024-003.
No.
Thank you, Madam.
Straight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I will defer for the presentation to Brian Wells, the third-party planner. He's done a fantastic job of going through these and again, he'll make his presentation.
Very good. All right, so this second variance request is for the reduction in the front and side yard setbacks for a residential lot that is currently zoned residential estates 2. The standard front and side yard setbacks for this zoning district is 50 feet. However, this lot 21 of the Eagle Ridge subdivision as is shown on sheet 39 of your packet, contains approximately 75% of its buildable area within a drainage easement, thereby rendering a considerable portion of the buildable envelope of the lot unbuildable. You can't really build anything in a drainage easement. And so in order to increase the available area to construct a single-family home and any accessory structures that might accompany it, the applicant is requesting a reduction in that 50-foot setback by 10 feet to 40 feet to basically increase the total buildable area outside of the drainage easement for lot 21 of the Eagle Ridge subdivision. That is essentially the totality of the variance request tonight for this item. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'm not sure if this is a question for you or if there's gonna be a presentation. But looking at the photos provided, nothing is currently built. Is there no way to reorient the platting of that land so that it can meet the easements?
Yeah, it is here. Are we all planning on more? We all planning to give a presentation? If you would swear them in, let them make their presentation, and then we'll answer.
Sure.
All right, what is your name and your address?
Yep, Omar Weiss, 5225 Los Feliz Boulevard, Irving, Texas, 753.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Omar Weiss. I'm the developer for Hudson Hills for Eagle Ridge. We came in about 4 years ago now and developed most of the residential areas out here. For this specific scenario, in Eagle Ridge, this lot sits on a road that pretty much goes on one side of it and then turns and goes on the other side of it. So it's on both sides. Usually side yard setbacks are 20 feet, I think, or it's 20 feet, right? Front yard setbacks are 50 feet. But because this lot sits on both roads, we have to take 50 feet on one side and 50 feet on the other side, and it really constricted the lot. That drainage easement is actually wetlands, and it's federally protected. You can't get rid of that easement, you can't change that easement, you can't touch that easement, you can't do anything with it, so you're very, very restricted. We actually had to purchase wetland mitigation credits when we first did this job, just to get that buildable pad there, to get just an 80 by 80 foot pad to get a house on there. We have a buyer for that lot, he's actually here today, and his name's Phil. He's designing his house on there right now, and we have a really nice design that's gonna kind of wrap around the street and kind of make it a little bit more private. But there's no neighbors on one side, there's no neighbors on the other side, there's barely any neighbors on the back side because of the pond. So it's a very, very isolated lot. It's not like that setback's gonna affect anybody around it. We're currently building all the houses in that neighborhood. There's a couple of builders, but I'm still personally involved in all of it. We're not asking for more than what we need. We're just asking for 10 feet out of that setback. It's barely anybody's gonna even notice the difference between it and the rest of the neighborhood. So to answer your question, we cannot replat the neighborhood. Every lot there was a lot of time and effort that went in, and that was there when we had to go through this. Every lot was meticulously planned to make sure we got the 2 acre minimum on there. And if you start shifting lot lines now, it complicates the entire project, especially since some of those lots are sold. Some houses are going up right now as well around it. So we're really just wanting a reduction in that setback by 10 feet, just to get enough room to be able to make the house a little bit bigger and a little bit nicer.
And when you were doing these discussions, did you see that you were gonna need this reduction in setback?
No, we didn't, because these are custom homes. I'd say if the Toll Brothers or production builder comes in, they have their pads that are set, right, 80 by 80, 90 by 100. Custom homes, every pad is different. A lot of these other lots, they're 2 acre lots, there's plenty of space for somebody to do whatever they want. But this lot just really restricted by the wetlands. It's just very difficult to project what the builder or a client wants. So we only found out about this when Phil came in and started designing his house. We got together with them and we just need a little bit more room to make sure driveways can pull in the right way and the house can kind of fit in on that lot.
So the other day I drove by and there's almost like a water wash going through to that property, is that not part? Wouldn't that wash away whatever is there currently?
No, yeah, so it's actually a funny story. The reason why you see that water, creeping up to where this lot is, because there's a couple of beavers, that built a dam around one of the inlets. And we've been fighting these beavers for the last 6 months. Every day we go out there, we remove the dam that they built, everything we drain away, so that's supposed to be dry. So we've been fighting it a lot. That's why you see trees start getting cut. And if you go out there, you'll see kind of their marks on where they are. So we hired somebody to go out and trap them, do it the right way, and take them somewhere else. But generally, in normal conditions, that whole area is completely dry. It's just because of that dam that beaver built. It kind of elevated the level of where the pond needs to be.
On this plan with the pink and the orange, I guess it came from
For us,
you.
yes.
Okay. On the pink, about how much acreage is that where he could actually build on?
It's about, we have an 80-foot by 80-foot pad. If I'm doing my math, it's about 6,400 square feet, is that right? 6,400 square feet, right? So it's about that much. They're opting for a 1-story house to wrap around there. We really didn't want to do 2-story on there. So that extra acreage that we're asking for, that extra 10 feet, it can't be any more than maybe 1,000 square feet or so. It's just, again, they'll hold me to that, but it's not that much.
Do you have a drawing with the floor plan of the house on
We're
it?
still working through that right now. Actually, it's gonna be, that floor plan gets impacted by the decision today. But we have a preliminary, floor plan and we'd like for it to kind of extend up closer towards the street. If you think about the distance of that house from where the actual side of the concrete is, even with this reduction, you're still talking about 59 feet away from the edge of the road. So it's still pretty far back. You don't really even realize those 10 feet that you're driving at about the
And there's no neighbor currently on the side of the lots? There's no owner of those lots there?
No, so we still own a significant amount of that property, as developers, and we didn't make this presentation to you all, but it was the city council. I promised them 2 years ago that I would be involved in that project until the last house is built. So we're not out there selling these lots to the massive amount of builders. We're heavily involved in every single builder that goes in there to ensure the quality in the neighborhood. And that's what we intend to do. So we own the lots around it. It's hard to see on a piece of paper. You kind of have to go out there and look at it. If you're looking at this lot, on one side of it is a street, so there's no neighbors there. On the other side of it is actually a pond that runs all the way through it, so there's really no neighbors there. The only neighbors are the one on the back side of it, but there's still a massive amount of trees and the pond that kind of separates both those lots. So this lot's kind of on its own little island. It doesn't have any neighbors really, even when those lots are sold and house started.
What is the square footage requirement for the housing development? Because if this is a very small lot, how is he gonna meet with a 1-story house? How is he gonna meet the square footage?
Yeah, we have a minimum of 5,000 square foot, for the houses in Eagle Ridge, so it'll still fit, it'll be above 5,000 square feet.
1-story on an 80 by 80 plot of land?
It's an 80 by 80 pad, but if you look at the side of it, it still kind of goes out, but even an 80 by 80 pad is, 6,400 square feet. So it'll still go above that, and the way he has the land plan is, site plan being, designed right now, it kind of wraps around a little bit. There's some areas on there that are outside of the pads
Yes.
that can you can build in those areas, so we still plan on utilizing every square inch we can, through that. Through the rest of the neighborhood though, every other house we have going on in there, so all the small is 5,500 square feet, but every other house in there is 6,500, 7,000. We have one that we just got plans for, that's an 8,600 square foot house. So these are really big houses.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Open public hearing.
Yeah, okay. Anybody? Can we open the public hearing at 7:16 PM?
Anyone wish to speak?
Chair, I have not received anything written or any, request for tonight for this request.
Okay. Thank you. Close the public hearing at 7:16 PM. May we go into executive session?
Yeah, we need to announce it like we did before.
Okay. Closing the public hearing at 7:16 PM to go into executive. I'm not using the right wording. To go into executive session.
No, we,
Here we are. Okay. Pursuit of Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, the Board of Adjustment will convene in closed executive session in accordance with the Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with the town attorney to seek legal advice of his attorney concerning agenda item 4, time being 7:17. So you're on the, I'll take it there.
We're never going in. That budget council, we do the executive session at the end. So. But we don't go in executive session. This is true, we usually just. Well, you want to get it on? There's so much more. No, you don't have to go, you are an owner.
Yes.
I want you to talk here.
Passion.
Yes. Yes.
Motherly role.
Yes. No, I don't know.
No, sorry, I see a question.
If they ask questions, I'll.
Wait for it.
No, actually, yeah, y'all
Let me hear your question.
y'all know this.
He's like, yeah.
She's sweet one.
He's like, yeah.
Like, somebody, well.
Ah, it's lost.
Yeah, stay. Where the log house is. I'm the Eagle Ridge guy. This is me with you. Do you really? Yeah, well, we bought. She's on the French. She's the house, just, which I guess, down the road, we bought 2 acres, the Fullers, which that man is, and that one right there. Awesome, so we're trying to get very specific, we're in barns. I had these, in my house last week. So we're trying to save the life.
So what kind of?
I got you. I'm also. See these houses. Maybe first. My wife. It's gonna reach. Where's one house is so there.
We go back and forth. I miss you. I'm in one way.
She does talk about we're selling. Yeah. You took everyone. Oh, wait. I didn't know. Yeah, she talked about that. She's like, that's what the marriage.
I think if there is something.
No, it is. That's kind of like. And you're down today. Yeah, I don't live there. I live in the lands. Yeah. He's 6.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, the kids will like this.
Yeah.
Shoes.
Yeah, where I first heard it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, we're gonna bet he's on, right? Yeah, he used to use that property. I go to the store sometimes. Yes,
Anyway.
that's probably true. I don't know how deep the ties go with the family.
I wanna keep.
But we named one of the streets after that. It's important. It's actually named, in that.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah. Also, we're in the ETJ.
Then I
I go there, go, 30.
Oh.
This is. Yeah, changes, someone like, did fun stuff as well. Yeah, because everybody, we have developed whole thing, where, around a little island there, that's the farm. It won't be the same. So, I don't know. Oh. John's trying not like sell more stuff. Yeah. We sold it. They really were, they were much nicer. I'm still. Yeah.
That's why. I was getting-
Go down there and play.
So, yeah, so looking at it, but you know.
It's total center.
Yeah, and it's all day.
Wow. Growing thousands. I'll never say that.
It's my graduation.
Try to see.
I just won't do it.
Yeah.
Really? I went there. I went.
Yeah.
Wow. I said, don't let go. It's, here it is. He was a little shy here. We get a lot of phone calls, like, if anyone has drawn in, because I told him, someone start making phone calls. And I thought, anybody started folks know about you, huh? Yeah, it's a lot of work, man. So maybe, we have to deal with a lot. I work for Wall Street 25, it's just a lot of work. So I know that we're young still, so we keep this guy young, like, back in the woods.
Last thing, where,
Marty,
you're such a call house.
yeah, there, so you kind of feel, because everybody's treating people to do the jobs. Yeah. Yeah. Or, you know, city, and yeah, sometimes we're appreciate it. Sometimes they pop there, oh, but they're doing you like, and I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, so.
I know, it's what I'm saying. Yep. A lot of owners get bankruptcy. They wait, they wait 6 months, so it's I don't know. There's a time. And you think we have, wow, I always had my own sick. That was so. I was. Yes, I'm sick.
Yeah, but it's connected to his.
Oh, my God. Yeah, thank you.
The island basically says.
Yeah, we value our.
Yeah.
Like they welcome to, so you get a little water.
I know you know. So you see, if you've driven there a lot, you see the house that's almost. Oh, yeah. Literally a lot. What's the drive? And then there's all the but there's like a massive space. That's pretty long. It's a good one. He didn't take any of this. Take the line.
Where we, I spoke to him about a lot, that was the one that he said,
Yeah.
we knew there was wetlands. I never did residential, but then when we got the house, and it's over there, and
Yeah.
Oh, it's not pretty nice.
I'm here, man. Yeah.
Yeah, man,
We haven't. I'll tell you what. Yeah, right. That's the one thing. And if you got it is, you got a big idea. If you want to.
This
I mean, you're talking 4 years. You gotta, there's no quick, if you have a problem, everything's all, we've been in business. No, we're not gonna take we haven't taken 10 years.
I mean, but I got the file, I got that, we just have.
That's kind of what I'm doing.
What do you roll service code?
Yeah, so you grab one and you control it all in. And I'm like, oh, what is it? No, we need to go. It was already sold for 2 day costs. Yeah, we are not. We started. You don't actually do a software. Okay, that's good. You're lucky. Yes, yeah, oh yeah, we hired. I tell you what, man, it's not. Yeah, it's big money. I know some. Is this your first? No, 2000. You just do this. I'll give it you can do it. Exactly. He gets the. Yeah.
Everything.
How do you know that? Oh my God. That's shocking. Well, we like a lot.
Yeah.
I've been in Argyle my entire life. Yeah. Yeah, English, a little Spanish, a little bit, only from what I picked up in college.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just-
I can drive through, I was like, that's. Yeah. I also. I agree, I like, I'm learning that, yes, I like. We haven't done any work on it yet. Actually, but that's the whole thing itself. Yeah, you're like, you're not. That's that house that. Yeah, no, further up. That's not one, we're building that stuff. Still 70. So it's absolutely. Greenhouse. It's it's got blue holes to it, got a lot of glass. Yeah, you guys. No, you can. And you don't have a hard. No, there's a couple of water houses.
They said.
No,
I like it.
Which we got. Yeah. Alright.
Well, say that, so all three. Yes, sir. And. And so, I think it was. Yeah. So we need to be rezoned to everything.
Yeah. And then, it's not still quite long.
I mean, we like to.
Private road, yeah, and they're saying, well, we're running like. Somewhere, it's in terms of. Yep. And I write down there's. You know, we'll see, well, it's not that the 2 acres. Yeah, you're not. And then, so the rest of the, let's see. 20%. I know one place there. Yeah, 80% is left. That makes one back. Well, I'll go get.
I live
I know it's starting, well, 500 it's,
one lot is $5.99.
Okay.
And then it goes up
It's
to
still,
7.
it's about a quarter mile away.
And it is, yeah, it is.
No, you were.
It's the one right at the end. Oh, you're welcome.
I'm gonna be really big.
It's not all that open. Yeah. Yeah, I'll show you. We're doing, brand new. Yeah.
At times GPS people, I think, just drop it off because they're on that corner, they don't know where else, they're just literally drop it. And I've said, like the package,
Oh, that's cool. It's gonna be two towers. I don't know what it, yeah, I think we use that, like, that's, but it's clean. That's gonna be great. You got a good lot, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Good to meet you. Yeah, yeah. Good to meet you. Phil. Good to meet you, John. I'll give you a call later. It takes some. I prefer being in the building well in my day. Okay. Great. Bye. Bring you by. Sounds good. And then I've got some power to deal with. It was so. Yeah.
And I will close the,
Here, we can meet in open session.
okay. We will be moving into open session at 7:37 p.m.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to, approve the requested variance, based on the fact that, circumstances causing the hardship do not similarly affect all or most of the property in the vicinity. They're not self-inflicted, and it doesn't affect the rights of the other owners of surrounding properties.
I'll second.
Everyone in favor? Motion carries. Yes.
Can we just clarify, Director John, you
B,
said,
E, and G.
thank you. And moving on to the next agenda item, number 5. Public hearing to consider a variance to the following regulations, Bartonville zoning ordinance 19.4.a relating to accessory building setback requirements. The property subject to the variance request is located on land situated in the Fuller Addition 3, Block A, Lot 1 in the town of Bartonville, Denton County, Texas. The applicant is Jonathan King, town file number VAR-2024-004. Staff presentation.
Madam Chair.
So back in 2023, this property was part of a larger subdivision that created a number of 2+ acre lots. With that residential subdivision, there was a variance granted for this specific parcel. That was BAR 2023-004. And that variance was granted to allow an existing barn structure to remain on this parcel without a primary structure. So the Bartonville zoning ordinance generally requires a primary structure, usually in the form of a single-family residence, to be in place before or concurrent with the establishment of any accessory buildings, like a shed, accessory dwelling, garage, barn, anything like that. But because this barn was already in place, it had something of a historic character. The Board of Adjustment granted the variance to allow this accessory structure to remain in place on this new lot without any primary structure being established. So that's the condition of this property that you have today. The applicant wishes to build a new single-family residence on this 2.378 acre lot. However, the location of the barn, as you can see in the exhibits, notably on sheet 48, it's a survey of the property. You can see the metal barn is kind of more toward the north end of the property near Bridgetown Road. There's a 50-foot building setback on the front side of the lot, 20-foot building setbacks on each side. The applicant is requesting to build their new single-family home south of the metal barn, in the larger kind of buildable envelope in the lot. Now, the Bartonville zoning ordinance requires in normal circumstances to, that any accessory buildings need to be located behind the principal building. So this will be in conflict with that requirement because the accessory building on the lot, again, the existing barn, will be located in front of the primary building, which is the single family home. And the variance request to allow them to not have to remove that barn or have to squeeze a home in that small area between the barn and the front building setback as shown on sheet 48. That concludes my statements, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
The applicant is also present, for the afternoon presentation or just?
Sure.
Okay, so the applicant is present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Yes, you may. Please state your name and your address.
Jonathan King, 2916, the current address or the address?
Current.
Correct.
Current, 2916 Frontier Drive, Denton, Texas, 76210.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing us today. Kind of new at this, I'm green, so sorry if I'm a little nervous. But just wanted to bring before you this variance request to, we bought this property in October of last year. And it really was a dream that we could have a chance to move to Bartonville. I've always looked at Bartonville as a place I would never be able to afford to live or be able to move into. And the fact that we were able to acquire this property was really a huge blessing. So one of the reasons why we liked it was there was this historic barn on the property. And we weren't aware at the time of the Bartonville ordinances regarding the barn. So I think we just assumed that in purchasing the property, we would have the ability to keep the barn, to maybe have some horses or donkeys or you know, whatever animals one day. And be able to keep the barn just because it's an aesthetically pleasing barn. It's not a dilapidated, about to, you know, fall over barn. It's been kept well. And even as I helped shore up some of the problems with the roof just recently. So anyway, you know, then we were informed in the process that we would have to file a variance and get the approval to be able to build our house behind it, because there's not very much space in front of it to build a house, and there's a lot of trees there. The barn is actually approximately, we had CoServe come out to talk about bringing utilities to the land, and it's about 130 feet to the barn, to the edge of the barn from the road, from the utility pole. And that's probably another 8 foot to the road. So you're 130 foot, and it's behind a good amount of trees. So plus I have great neighbors here who were willing to come out as well and speak, I suppose, after I speak about their feeling concerning the barn. But anyway, all we're just asking is for y'all's consideration too, because the barn has been here, I believe, somewhere around 80 years, perhaps before Bartonville was even founded as a town, that it would be preserved as part of Bartonville's heritage, and it's aesthetically a barn that I think at least the neighbors would like to consider to keep. So thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
All right, ask them now.
Sure.
Do you plan to have animals in the barn? Are you gonna use it at the barn or?
Well, we'd like that possibility. We haven't decided quite yet what we're gonna do, but you know, we would like, she likes donkeys and cows, but we're just not sure we have enough land to even have animals, especially cows. Maybe a donkey, but at the least I have my John Deere tractor mower in there. I've got my pools in there. I've got my 4-wheeler in there, and it's just, I don't know. It's just wonderful to say. I feel like a farmer, you know. Anyway, I just it's nostalgic to me, and actually
Otis is here. He's one of the original Fullers, and he could speak to the how long the barn's been there and what they all have memories with this barn before I came along. I'm the new guy on the block. So
Actually, we gave it variance to keep it there when the land was replatted.
yes, sir.
I remember.
Yes, sir. Apparently, it was allowed to transfer with the land, but I had to file a separate variance to allow me to build a house behind it, because most all the land is behind the barn. It's just the way, I guess, it ended up being platted because where the road is and how everything ended up.
You've included some pictures in the presentation, but nothing of the interior. Is the interior?
Interior is in great shape, and I thought about that afterwards. Wonder if we're gonna want to see the inside. The inside, there's a couple pictures where you can, yeah, like, kind of see inside there. It's got,
How big is it?
it's about 40 by 40. It's 30, 40 by 30, 20? What'd you say?
It's just a hay barn.
It's a hay barn.
Remember all that, the hay barn and the middle barn? It's the hay barn. So it just housed the hay and the trailers and all of that. So.
Yeah, it has, it's in good shape. It's been kept, they've re-supported the trusses and the 2x6s going across. And I also had my roofer go up on top of the roof, and he put a new ridge cap on the top to make sure the water's not getting in there. And I mean, honestly, I'm gonna re-support it a little bit. My plan was, if I can keep the barn, was revamp it, maybe put some cedar posts in there, put some cedar 2x6s, put some shelving, all of that. But it's structurally in great shape. It's not leaning, it's straight. They have steel reinforced. Somebody in the past put a steel collar on one of the pillars because it's just old and it was starting to split. So they put a steel collar on there to keep it from continuing to expand. So it's been kept well for its age, I would say.
I went out and looked at this, as a matter of fact, you don't object to it.
No.
But it is in good shape.
Okay.
Inside and
Okay.
for barn, it's an older barn, 70 years old maybe.
Otis can speak to the age.
We have the age written.
About 70 years old, there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
70 years old.
Something like me.
I think too, this picture of the five to one of your neighbors, and this picture right here with the trees. I don't know how you're not gonna lose at least some trees going back to the house, but if not, you'd lose a lot of trees to build in that barn to the road. And those trees are quite aesthetic. And already you're probably gonna have to lose one tree to get back to wherever you wanna build this house, but, I don't know that this picture does as good of a job saying that.
Thank you. Correct, yeah, there were more trees and more brush. There's a lot of dead brush we had to clear out. But it's now springtime. If you were my neighbor, if you're close, it's all greening up and looking really beautiful. I spent $8,000 on my tree trimmers to go in there and trim it up, bring the canopies up and make it really look beautiful.
Yeah.
We really like the aesthetic. But yeah, I think we can bring a driveway in without having to knock any more trees down.
Yeah, I think that with that.
Is the goal.
We do require a tree removal permit, so you were allowed to remove trees for driveways and of course your building pad and those things.
Yeah.
Without cost, but we still require the permit.
Okay.
We're big on the preservation of the trees.
Yes.
There's a lot of them that died in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, Weldon can speak to that as well.
Yeah.
Post-host.
I have a question. How far back do you plan on building the house in the event that the barn ever does fall apart, disappear or something? Would you then be able to build a replacement barn behind the house, or would you have to come back and get a variance to rebuild that barn up in front of the house?
That's a good question. I've measured out the land. It's about 500 feet deep, I believe, on the survey. And the barn's 130, and then it's another 40, so about 170. I want to build the house at least 50 feet behind the barn, so there's a little bit of separation. And but I also want to have a backyard. I want to push my house so far back, I got no backyard to put, we'd like to pool one day. We will file a permit for one. So I would say at least 50 foot. We haven't done plans. We're very much in the beginning stages of the planning stages for the house.
you know, we'd like to have some chickens. There's two sides to the barn. One of the sides would make a great chicken coop, to have fresh eggs and whatnot, but, we're gonna have at least 50 foot back, and then we're gonna have a backyard, and it would be very difficult not only to build a barn of this character with this kind of age and aesthetic look. It would not look this aged. Plus, it would be right up against my house, because my property line would be pushing my backyard right to the property line. And I don't know if I'd be able, if I lost this barn, I don't know if I'd be able to find another place in the land for it suitable. I probably could, but it wouldn't look like that, you know. So, 70-year-old barn anyway. We like things with old character, you know. I do build. I'm a custom builder. We just finished a house on the M Streets, built in 1920, and those we like things with character, with, you know, some age, a little bit of age to it. It looks beautiful. So, anyway, but 50 foot is, I'd say 50 foot plus behind the barn.
Are there restrictions? Is when you have like I know there's 50 foot from a house to a barn in the back, or a house to a mother-in-law quarter in the back, 50 feet plus, is there also that restriction?
This is
Or a
kind of,
barn in the front?
this is kind of going backwards. The same distance requirements would exist
Okay.
from the house, but usually that's, you know, chicken coop.
Accessory dwelling.
Yeah, I don't think we have,
accessory structure.
we don't have for accessory structures, it's dwellings, it must be within 50 feet of the other.
And correct me if I'm not wrong, but that doesn't affect this parcel because it's only 2 acres. And now the guidelines are 5, right?
4.
4. So we can't add one after the fact anyway, it's 2.
Yeah, you want an accessory structure, another
Yeah.
barn, you could not have an
But not
accessory.
another.
So you would be-
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other?
Any other questions?
In the public hearing, we do have, we have speakers and we have some write-ins on this, topic. So we'll move to the public hearing, please, Madam Chair.
All right, we'll move to the public hearing at 7:53 p.m. You have time for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have some speakers, but I just want to make a note that the town did receive 3 written statements in response. 2 of those responses, the speakers are actually here tonight, so the one I'm going to point out is Ben Boardman at 565 West Jeter sent in a statement of support of this variance request, and that information will be written into the minutes for this meeting.
Okay.
And then the first speaker here tonight is Weldon Pearson.
Could I actually defer to Otis and the Fuller family and follow up afterwards? Would that be acceptable? All right, thank you.
Okay, is that okay with everybody to go? Okay.
Just let Otis know, he's the
Thank you,
oldest.
Will.
We'll let
Otis
Otis older
Fuller.
go first.
You bet.
Age.
Age before beauty.
Please state your name and address.
Otis Fuller, 443 Pine Hills, Frisco, Texas.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand? Right. You swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you.
Thank you all for the job you do here. And I own 20 acres directly south, adjacent, touching Jonathan's property. And as they said, the barn is about 70 or 75 years old. And this farm was bought by my parents in 1941 or 1942. And it's just recently been divided up in the last couple of years. I'm excited about the neighbors that's out there with Weldon, and Lisa's gonna be on one side, and Jonathan. Just seem like real fine people, and I just had a thought a while ago that right here, we've got all 3 neighbors on 3 sides of Jonathan here to speak in favor of this. So he's covered from the east and the west and the south. He's got people speaking favorably of it. And I know y'all have these ordinances that people pass and to make a better neighborhood and all, but sometimes they don't work in all circumstances, and I really feel like this is one of the circumstances that should be, waived, and I'm highly in favor of it. And thank you for letting me speak. Does anyone have any questions about the property or anything? Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Mindy Brown.
Hello, I'm Mitzi Grau, 4109 T-Berry Court, but I own 1112 Bridgetown Road, and y'all probably remember me from the plotting and everything we did about that land.
Nancy, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I just want to start by saying, as you all know, this was very emotional for me to plat this out and sell it. And so the one thing when the real estate agent was, I just wanted to know who my neighbors are going to be, because one, this was family land that was very emotional for us, because my uncle, my mom, and my brother were all raised on this land, as well as myself and all my cousins. So I just want to say I am so overly pleased on not only that he bought this lot with the barn, that he's going to be my neighbor, because he actually has a true sense of the history of Bartonville. And the barn, I'm so glad that y'all gave the variance, because I really kind of wanted it, I would love to see it. You really can't see it from the road. And we thought about keeping that lot, because it's just so gorgeous and beautiful with the trees at the beginning. But I just supported keeping it because, one, it's a part of Bartonville's farming history, and it'll engage in conversation for some of the younger kids, like, hey, how old is this farm? This is kind of cool, it'll engage in conversation of what Bartonville's country feel is. That's what y'all say all the time is, keep Bartonville country. And so it will engage in conversation of the history of the farming community of Bartonville, and also just be great for us to be able to remember that with our family history. That's it. Any questions about the land or farm? Thank you. Mr. Pearson?
You say your name and address.
Sure, Weldon Pearson, 1126 Frenchtown Road, Argyle, Bartonville, 7656. Our mailing address is Argyle, and our house sits in Bartonville.
Understand that, yeah. You raise your right hand.
Yes,
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. We do own the 2 acres due east of the property in question. We've lived there about 12 years. We lived in Flower Mound, Bridlewood before moving out. And as beautiful as Bridlewood is, we still saw the country atmosphere and the larger lots, the livestock, all the aesthetics that make Bartonville, kind of a country escape. Whether it's the windmills, the stock tanks, the livestock ag equipment that you see from time to time, and yes, even the barns. And this barn is one that's been around 70 years. Much like the historical marker that sits on the front of this building for historical significance. The Texas Historical Commission says that anything over 50 years of age that has either architectural or other historical significance would be eligible for an application as a historical marker. Now, I think it's a bit of a stretch that a galvanized tin barn would actually meet all the criteria that's required, but it does speak to the fact that it would be eligible in terms of its significance and age and its historical setting. I wanted to make sure that I went after Otis, so I didn't steal any of his stories. But just to share a little bit, that barn, even in the 12 years that we've lived adjacent to it, it's housed livestock. It's been a hay barn. We've seen wild animals seek refuge in it, and there's deer that go through there. There's even been a wedding reception held there. So, the Fuller family can tell you that in terms of historical significance, it's been woven into the fabric of their lives, just like all the other structures that are in and around there, the pond that sits behind it, for example. So much to our, kind of surprise is, as you think of big developers, and I knew that there was a developer here earlier, but when you think of pre-planned communities or big developments, they tend to go in and level what's necessary to put as many acres
or as many houses on as few acres as possible to maximize their profit. And it's a business and it's capital country, so I understand. However, in this case, you have somebody that's wanting to build on the property, that's willing to conform their building needs and desires to the property itself. So on one hand, you have somebody that conforms the land to their master plan, and here you have somebody conforming their plan for the situation or the setting that it's in. So it does have significance in terms of aesthetic appeal. It has historical significance. You've heard from the family a little bit. It'd just be a shame to actually force them to tear that down. I don't know what their plans are in terms of the ag exemption, but it could very well fit into their ag requirements in terms of hosting livestock or other avenues that they might choose to pursue from the ag exemption itself. So there's multiple facets here to consider. The neighbors, as Otis said, on all sides are in favor of it. And if we're not only in favor of it, but welcoming, I mean, I don't see how the board itself could find contrary to that. Thank you.
Good job.
We have one more, but I don't believe she's here.
Yeah, I have her statement's basically Cherry, she had Bible study, she had to leave. So same thing, it's my aunt, David and Cherry Fuller on Thousand Given Road.
And
Yes.
she's in favor.
She's in favor. I have backup. So just her notes is gonna run up, but here you go.
I will take this
And it's Cherry.
we'll put it into the minutes that in favor, that you have another person in favor.
All right, thank you. Any more questions?
So I just had a question, for Ryan. If the barn did fall down, and had to be, it was no longer safe, could he put another barn on the same lot?
I would say that probably not. Variance is allowed for the existing structure, but once it's fully demolished, it would still be considered non-conforming to some degree, so you can't rebuild a non-conforming structure if it's demolished. It would have to, if you do maintenance on it, up to a certain degree, it wouldn't be able to add much to it, without that. Any new accessory buildings would have to be built in accordance with the zoning ordinance that's in place at the time, generally meaning behind the front plane of the building or behind the building.
And that standard is usually about 51% of the dam damage still required to come down.
Yeah.
Sure. Madam Chair, we'll close the public hearing before we continue additional discussion.
You want to speak?
I was just gonna say,
Can you come up to the?
oh, sure. Of course, we don't want the barn to fall down, but it could fall down, and that, I think if that barn fell down, I don't think we would build another one in its place, just because it's got sentimental value to me. I don't know if it speaks to me, but I don't think we'd be able to build something. We'd have to file another variance and get another process going in order to do it. But thankfully, it has lasted 70 years, and it's still going strong somehow. So we'll do our best to keep it going that way another 70 years.
Okay, we will close the public hearing at 8:04. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the requested variance to allow construction of a single family residence behind the existing accessory building rather than in front of the existing accessory building as required by town zoning ordinance section 19.4.a, because the variance meets the following requirements under the factors in zoning ordinance section A.3.d of appendix A, and the items I am citing are A, C, G, and H.
Everyone in favor?
I'm sorry, Director Dom, were you done? Did you done?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, next agenda item. Item number 6, public hearing to consider a variance to the following regulations. Bartonville zoning ordinance section 22.3.d L and R relating to telecommunications facility setback requirements. The property subject to the variance request is located on land situated in the DCF WSD number 7 Retail Center Edition, Block A, Lot 1 in the town of Bartonville, Denton County, Texas. The applicant is Ralph Weingarten of Falk and Foster. Town file number BAR-2024-005.
I am Ryan, something Ryan.
So, for this, final variance request tonight, earlier this year, the applicant submitted a site plan and conditional use permit application for a 130-foot tall monopole telecommunications tower to be located generally behind the Kroger Marketplace on the backside of the parcel within which the Kroger Marketplace is located. As a consultant planner, I conducted the review of the application and deemed it recommended denial of this application. One of the reasons for the denial was the proposed location of the monopole and the surrounding kind of contained area for all the accessory equipment. The reason for that denial was because the Lantana Town Center Plan Development establishes a 10-foot rear yard setback for each lot, and the development actually consists of a number of different lots. You can't tell when you're driving out there, but legally, there are a number of different lots within that development. So each of those lots has certain setback requirements from the ordinance for the plan development. If you look at the Bartonville zoning ordinance as it relates to telecommunications facilities, it states that the telecommunications towers and all accessory, structures and the enclosures are subject to those same setbacks. And so putting those two pieces together, as proposed, the telecommunications tower and enclosure would not be able to be located as proposed, which is really right up against that rear yard property line within that 10-foot rear yard setback. So as a result of that, after communicating with the applicant, they submitted this variance request to request essentially a waiver of that requirement to meet the setback for telecommunications facilities, which would thereby remove that item from consideration when making a recommendation on the site plan and conditional use permit. That's the, a quantitative standard that they wouldn't otherwise be able to meet other than having a variance granted or moving the facility. So, and at this point, they're trying to keep it in its location by requesting the variance before you tonight.
The applicant is here, again, no presentation, but he is here to answer questions and make a statement.
Hello,
Would you
Ralph,
say,
yeah, Ralph Weingarten from Falk and Foster at 678 Front Street, Suite 255, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49504. Here on behalf of the applicant, Hemp Hill LLC, as well as the landowner Kroger LP.
would you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Thank you, Ryan, for your presentation to you. Just by way of a little bit of background, Hemp Hill LLC, the applicant is what they call in the industry a build-to-suit company. They work with the wireless providers, and the wireless providers tell them, hey, here's where we need a tower site in our system. Here's what height we require. And then Hemp Hill will go out, locate the site, construct it, operate it, and then lease space to the carrier. In this case, Verizon is the provider, but the site's also designed to accommodate up to 3 additional future providers as well. This has been an area of need for Verizon for a while. A couple years ago, we proposed a site behind the Lantana Community Church. There were neighbors in the immediate vicinity that didn't like that, and that did not get approved. This is an alternative location in a more appropriate commercial setting. The Lantana Town Center development is kind of a triangular area with Jeter on the south, Macon on the west, and then FM 407 kind of completes the triangle. And as was mentioned, there are a number of lots within that triangle, but it's kind of a single unified development. So in this case, although this is deemed a rear lot line that we're adjacent to, it's kind of more of an internal line, and on the other side of that line is not a business or a residence or any use, it's a stormwater retention basin, so there's never gonna be something on the other side of that line. In this particular case, both the Lantana Commercial Owners Association and Kroger did not allow anything in the front yard in between the Kroger and FM 407. They wanted it tucked behind the store, so that's one of the factors as to the location. And then when you go behind the store, the drive and fire lane that goes behind the store is demarcated by the red fire lane lines at either side. The portion of that that's up against the store, there's some space there, but those are where the loading docks are from two directions. There's also like a transformer and an electrical backup generator back there. And then from time to time, they use that area for storage, for pallets, carts, etc. But one of the key issues there is there's a 12-inch water main that runs along behind the store as well within a 10-foot utility easement. So that whole area close to the store cannot be used. So on the other side of the fire lane is this row of parking spaces between the fire lane and the rear property line. And that's really the only area left for us to look at. So this particular site is designed to fit within the length of those parking spaces and take up about 5 spaces. And there'll be room on the ground for Verizon plus the additional future providers. As far as how far north it is, we were looking previously a little bit further south on the property, but there is a residential setback from residential zone land, and the parcel that's south of Jeter was recently rezoned to residential. And so we shifted this site north to make sure we were compliant with the required residential setback. Again, the other lot, so to speak, or common area on the other side of that line is that water retention basin. So technically we kind of look at this more like a kind of an internal line that's kind of in common with the other parcels in the development. We did have to go through the Lantana Commercial Owners Association for them to review the design. They did have us change the fencing around it to ensure it was like a masonry block wall with a brick facade to match the store, but that was their only concern. So they have approved this as well. So we would respectfully ask for your granting of a variance from this 10-foot setback requirement. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Why is it critical that it has to be decided to, now you're trying here, is it a distance from a previous tower, or what dictates where that tower could be?
Yeah, it's the demand from both the, primarily a lot from this town center as well as the adjacent businesses and residences. This is kind of a central crossroads that's creating the demand for the use. And so given the location of their other sites, they need to kind of fill this hole, this coverage gap in the middle.
There's some of these that actually on the power lines as opposed to separate tower.
That is done on occasion as well, yeah.
And you consider the location up by the Bartonville water tower? Cross timber coming.
We've considered other locations, but Verizon has indicated that they're too far out of their search area or for other reasons don't work for them. And that will be considered as part of the conditional use permit process as well.
If it falls over, to fall around top of the store, right?
It's engineered not to fall over or to bend on itself so that it won't have a fall area outside of that immediate area that's situated in. And we can present a letter to that effect as well.
Who does the maintenance and how long is the maintenance done, so that way it doesn't rust out or fall?
It gets inspected, I don't know the exact amount of time, but every 3 to 5 years, it has to go through a complete inspection to check all the bolts and areas for rust and, you know, all that kind of stuff, corrosion.
They sell time, this might not be pertinent, do they sell the use of this tower to others?
Yeah, Hemphill LLC would operate the tower, but they have a lease in place with Verizon for this initial spot. But then they also encourage other providers to come locate, because it helps Hemphill's revenue to fill that tower up. And it's usually from a policy standpoint, good to consolidate everybody at a single location. So they'll pursue AT&T, Dish Network, T-Mobile, you know, whoever else would be interested. And a lot of times, once one provider comes on, like Verizon, the others want to stay competitive, and their systems are often similar enough that they need the same location.
And there's no exclusion from Verizon and other carriers, there's no exclusion period?
No, it can immediately be activated. If we can get somebody else to sign up in the meantime, we'll build it for Verizon and go on their way.
And I don't see in any of the photographs a visual of what 130 feet looks like straight up in the air. Can you try to describe it? I don't know how tall the building is and how much of an eyesore is this going to be. 130 feet.
130
How does that look like?
I don't have a photo simulation of that particularly. But
How
we
tall is the telephone?
usually the residential wooden telephone poles are like 35, 40 feet.
So it's 4 times that height?
Yeah.
But this is set back quite a ways from the street as well.
So if it should ever be vacated, take the legal responsible for it back.
It's called for to be removed, down to below grade and disposed of. That's in the lease.
And if Hemphill goes belly up, who's responsible for it?
It would be, probably Kroger, since they're on the property.
We send out, the notices to the Bartonville store and that residence that's right next to it.
There was the 200-foot notices, and on towards the back of the packet, it lists who it went to. It went out to 10 different addresses.
Yes, Bartonville store was.
And did you get anything?
We have the Bartonville store here tonight requesting to speak during the public.
Okay, got it. And then do you know about, this is like the dumbest question, sorry, how close to Kroger? Do you know?
I don't know offhand.
Well, is it going to be visually seen from the front, like from
You'll be able to see
407?
the top part of the
Or
tower.
we'll be able to see the tower over at from
Yes.
407?
Yes.
And then obviously a lot from the other side.
Yeah.
Look at this picture, so he said that's 75 feet tall.
Yeah, but the depth perception. You know what I'm saying? So like if I just go to Albany and I see it from 407. Yeah, you be able to see it. Okay.
Primary effect, we don't make it. Correct. Primary effect. We
Yeah,
don't make it,
yes.
when we make it.
And Dell, do you think Jeter too, right?
Well, no, Peter's down this way further, yeah, somewhat.
Yeah,
They make them go right on by,
yeah.
within 100 foot of it.
It's roughly across from the veterinary
Yes.
place.
It's unfortunate that you can't do it with the water tunnel, it's already.
Have you tried with the Lantana water tower? Since that seems to be closer to this triangle area where you keep wanting to go to the.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
How come, do you know?
The radio frequency engineer didn't like that location.
They even put them on church crosses, I understand, certain places. Telephone pole or light poles like Encore has out here. They're not, I don't think Brian is too particular about where they put them. Normally.
Yeah, and I think those are things, I mean, I came primarily to speak to the setback issue.
I'm afraid the worst one.
Those are all things that are conditional use permit discussions.
Is the conditional use permit forever until it comes down, or does that have to be renewed every now and then?
That's its own change, so it goes with the land.
It goes with the land?
Yeah.
What is it after that? To how much we've been able to do about that shopping center over there.
Yeah,
It's in Bartonville, but it isn't.
yeah.
We don't have any control over it, basically.
Yeah, control of something.
Yeah, very few things.
How come there's not a picture of what the tower itself looks like? I mean, is it just like a pole or is it one of those?
There's an elevation view in the drawings.
It doesn't have like trees, it goes up and then has one column, it's in the packet.
So it's sheet C 3-1.
It's one of like the prettier ones, and it's, it doesn't have any like tree or stuff, the bird, like you said, it's just the rods and stuff. Did you find it? Yeah. Okay.
79 bracket.
If I wanted to do this, can we hear from the rest of the people first?
Yes, so we didn't, she opened probably told. Yeah, and then they go. Yeah, page 79 in your packet is what. Did y'all have more questions for the applicant now, or did you want to, we're going to do a public hearing?
Ready for the public hearing? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Open the public hearing at 8:22.
Madam Chair, we do have one speaker, Tim House. We did not receive any written responses into this request.
Okay. Thank you. Please state your name and address.
Name is Tim House, I'm here representing the Bartonville store. Address of the store is 96 McMakin Road in Bartonville. Beneath my residence is 240 McMakin Road, on the other side of the street in Delaware.
All right. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
First time. I knew you were gonna say something. I was gonna ask if it's necessary that I tell the truth, since I'm really just asking questions. You asked what it looks like, and I guess you had a red ring or something that you were in the city. So, if you don't mind me, I look real quick.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Right. I found it.
Okay.
79.
So it's modeling, right?
On the paper, 79.
Do I understand correctly that this use conforms to the existing zoning of the property? It does not. Is this a zoning variance?
This is a variance to a setback. This is not, it does not convey any approval of the use. This is simply to provide a variance for the location of it that will still be subject to site plan conditional use permit review and approval at town council ultimately.
Okay. Well, I guess the truth of the matter is that a 10-foot setback variance or something is really not significant in my mind as much as the actual use. If this is 130 feet tall, that's roughly the height of a 10-story building. So, it's pretty tall, and I realize Kroger's didn't want it at their front door, but when they put it at their back door, they're putting it at my front door. So I am concerned about how it might look. I have to say honestly, I don't object to the 10-foot setback, it's just the use in general that I might have questions about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Close it, pardon, you have to close it and then I can say.
Okay. All right, I'll close the public hearing.
Madam Chair, I have some legal questions that I'd like to discuss with the town attorney in executive session, and I move that we go into executive session for that purpose.
We close the open session. We go into closed session at 8:25 p.m. Feel like I'm moving. Every time.
Y'all made a lot of trips today.
No.
Yeah. Storms. What's your come through the storms?
Well, this last one really did a number on vehicles that were parked in the parking lot. It was all, man, we had busted windshields, sunroofs.
Hail?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It had bigger. One house. I did get my roof replaced the last time it hailed.
Yeah.
So it just further damaged it. I'm waiting until the season's kind of into the summer before I put a claim in.
I had my check last year and my roofer said, you can file a claim, but I wouldn't do it all the way.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have him come back out after hail season's over. And
Yeah.
see if he.
Of course, I'm wondering if hail season ends anymore.
Usually by end of June, it kind of goes away a little bit, but.
I'll get my roof replaced, there's no question it'll qualify. Be a pickup bad.
My pickup got hammered pretty hard last June, and I've been a lot more diligent about parking it in my barn. So it's, I park in the barn, I have to walk further than the house, and a small price. Yes, I was without my truck for quite a long time last year.
I'm about fine right now, it's a pain.
Well, I had to fight my insurance company, they want to total my truck, I said, it's not total. I was like, it's just health, it's just cosmetic health damage. And they're like, yeah, but it's gonna cost $8,000 to fix it. Well, I don't care, you're not helping. I can't buy a new truck for that.
Trucks are so expensive
And
now.
I fought with them and finally acquiesced and. Well, I've been through this before with them and I know a little bit about the arguments, so they weren't prepared for that, I guess, I don't know. So I argued and they paid off on it because it's drivable. They had replaced the roof, the hood, and 2 front floor fans. Well, I don't care, it's just skin, it's just metal, it's bolt on, bolt off. That's right. And it comes already painted, so.
Well, I had a used 2006 Lincoln. I bought it for 40,000 miles on it in 2008. Drove it then for 16 years, put 200,000 more miles on it. I bought it for like $18,000. They were gonna give me 12 total, and I said, okay, that's not a bad investment, I drove it that long.
Yeah.
With replacements, I want to try to find the same vehicle, I'm gonna check again, I love that, it's just basically a 250 with a Lincoln insignia on it.
You look around, I have a 2004 GMC, 3/4 ton, 4-wheel pickup. I drove it until 2021 when the engine cracked out in it. So I got a new truck, I found a 15. Then one, an old guy out of Jack County, he passed away. Had this truck in great condition, I got it for 31.
You know, like, can't, see, and that's what I paid for the 2004.
That's what I wanna be doing, and there are such stories around that, as it turns out, a lot of them are in West Virginia or Michigan or Pennsylvania.
I got lucky.
Yeah,
What was ejected. I had already been looking for about a year, and then when my truck had to get busy, and I finally found this one. And, it all worked out, and I got it, and then I ended up putting a new engine in my old truck, reconditioned, 350 in it, and
yeah,
I sold it for $14,000. Cause that's when you used to, cause you couldn't buy new cars because of the chips, the problem.
I put an engine in this Lincoln, $3,500 worth or something like that, and it was, shoot, got another, however many miles out of it.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to drive another vehicle.
I'm not either.
I'll drive it. Well, the truck, I just put new brakes on it the other day. I pulled up the house, I went and bought everything and redid the brakes on it. I did all that myself. So
See, if the brakes work and the steering works,
everything else.
everything else is incidental.
Yeah,
I can pull off to the side of the road if it quits on me.
yeah. Well, friends of mine are like, oh, yeah, it's such old car. I'm like, it's good enough for Sam Walton, it's good enough for me. I said, so he drove the same 1972 single cab Ford pickup truck forever. And
What are you doing?
yeah, he didn't care.
Sir, I'm sorry to be the opponent here.
No, that's fine, that's the way things work. That's the system that works.
Again, I don't have any problem at all with setback, and if that's the agenda item tonight.
Yeah, that's the agenda item tonight, but there will be a public notice for the conditional use permit and site plan hearing that goes to planning board.
Yeah, I could have waited to come in, didn't have to spend on out here.
Yeah,
You'll just
Well,
get to come see me.
Oh, yeah. Did I hear your Michigan address?
I am, yeah, Grand Rapids, Michigan. It was about 45 and wet this morning, so a little bit nicer.
You just missed the storms.
So is it Kroger or Newquist that has the interest in this?
It's Kroger Texas LP that this particular parcel is owned by.
Okay.
Yeah. And I
So
think it was
tenant is-
Newquest, the developer that did the whole town center. Maybe.
So Kroger is subletting part of its property?
Yeah, Kroger is leasing, 33 by 19, 33 by.
So Newquest, is it, but they had to get Newquest approval to sublease, right?
Well, I think after Newquest, they were the developer probably, I think
Yes.
after they developed it, they put it into effect the Lantana Commercial Owners Association,
Okay.
which kind of carries on as
Yes.
requirements of the development after Newquest.
Alright,
is done.
so
So
the
it is-
actual landlord would be Kroger.
Yeah, the landlord, property owner is Kroger, but they still need the approval from the Lantana Commercial Owners Association, which represents their interest in
Right.
development, which has been obtained
Kroger would be the financial beneficiary.
Yes.
of the lease money. Yeah, the money goes to Kroger. And we've worked with Kroger in a few other locations too, similar to this.
You know, when it comes time for your site plan approval or whatever process it is.
Right. Conditional
I
use.
could probably be bought to come out and support if I could put a big flashing red arrow open sign up there at the store.
Yeah, don't go to Kroger, go over here.
Well, actually, my store, they'll pity the truck,
Okay, okay.
the car.
I'm thinking that violates, so.
It's probably a sign.
That violates a few ordinances, I think.
Well, I'm thinking it's gonna be so high in the air, people won't care.
Well, you're gonna put that in the.
If you're shopping, locate the tower and then go just west to the Bartonville store.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, people will be able to find you.
Well, that's a
You won't be hidden behind
That's a
Kroger.
good way to put it.
Everybody knows where that Bartonville town store is. That thing's been around for,
It's the reason there's a town here.
yes.
It's been around since 1882.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that building was that 82 or I thought it was 1940?
Well, that version is, the original store burned down, it was replaced, that one burned down.
The original store was a two-story.
Yeah, they had a dance hall.
Yeah.
Or not a dance hall, they had a meeting room, dance hall.
It was a place like this except two-story.
Yeah.
And it was big.
Now, this is the third building, and
Third
it was
building.
built about 50, I think.
Yeah.
And they use some of the lumber from the second version, because it's still got charred marks on the rafters.
All right, still the lumber.
Yeah. We could put a new 5-ton air conditioner in today to supplement the 2 4-tons we've already got going, so.
And I gotta put a new one in my house. I got a valve in my exchange upstairs that's sticking. And you have to change the entire coil upstairs, you can't just change that valve. I do it myself, but
I still wish. But window air conditioners I'll do, but other than that.
I can do it, but since I'm a council member, that has to all be done by licensed. If I wasn't a council member.
Or after dark.
Yeah, if I wasn't a council member, I'd have done it myself already.
Yeah, I know. Well, I won't tell you everything I've done on my property because I sit so far back, nobody notices.
Yeah.
So Michigan, you don't have to worry about air conditioning.
It's not as bad as down here.
Yeah.
It gets hot enough to enjoy it a little bit. so.
It's if I'm getting my bearings right, you're on the east side of the lake.
On the east side of Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at kind of the mitten of Michigan, we're kind of right over here.
Yeah.
Lake Michigan's here and Lake Huron's over here.
Isn't that where Gerald Ford was from?
Yeah, yeah, Presidential Museum is there in town.
We're closer to Chicago than we are Toronto.
Yeah, closer to Chicago, yeah.
Yeah.
Although the tourists mostly stay a little bit further south, but they some of them come straight.
I've gone over that side too, I spent more time around Detroit and Ann Arbor back in the working days.
Well, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to excuse myself and go home, so
Okay.
if they approve you, I got no problem with the setback.
Right, but I'm noted for the conditional use permit and site plan.
Anyway, well,
Thank you.
that's just regardless.
What's that, your noise? I don't know if they're coming back.
Sorry, yeah, it was good to see you.
Sounds like they're coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it sounds like it. I was trying to say, if you want to stay maybe one more minute.
Yeah.
I took a date, but now I can't bring her sweet tree off, she has makeup.
I like David Andrew very much, very political.
Yeah. So.
You mind if you're- We're going. He left.
Yeah. I'm starting with that.
Yeah, Tim had to leave.
Just it out.
I've made it this far. All of you.
Thank you.
Now we're here.
Yeah.
Hello, far ago. Oh, I'm on TV.
We're going to reconvene into open session, the time being 8:39. I reconvene the Board of Adjustments into the regular session.
Madam Chair, I move to deny the request variance to remove the rear yard setback for the 130-foot monopole proposed behind the Kroger Marketplace within Lantana Town Center development, where a 10-foot rear yard setback is required by Planned Development District Ordinance number 411-06 and zone ordinance sections 22.3.d.l and r, because the variance does not meet the requirements under the factors in zoning ordinance section A.3.D of appendix A. The items that I'm citing is G, this is self-induced. H, it is for increased financial gain, and B, it does, cause hardship to other affected areas and properties in fact.
I'll second the motion. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes if it's denied. Motion passes.
Motion carries, Aaron's is denied.
There you go, sorry. Sorry.
All right. Close the meeting.
Say the time, close the meeting.
The time is 8:41 and support of the adjustment meeting.